Hello everyone, so this is part 3 of the 3-part tutorial on how to interface the Omega2 with an Arduino board using UART. And in this part we're going to actually demonstrate how this works. So right now I have my Arduino board plugged into my computer and it's ready to go, ready to be programmed. I showed you an overview of the hardware in the part 2, in the previous part, and I also have Omega2 powered up and ready to go, connected to my home Wi-Fi and everything. So first we're gonna start by looking at this code over at the Arduino IDE. I got this code from this website right here. So they basically give you an overview of the Arduino serial ports, which is pretty useful, and give you some sample code. So that's the code I'm using to demonstrate. And you can see here the first thing we do is we import the software serial library, and we need to do this because, as I mentioned before, the Arduino Uno does not have any dedicated hardware for additional serial communication. So what you're doing here is you're creating a couple of virtual ports so you can implement UART. So here we're assigning pin 8 as the RX pin, or the receiver pin, and pin 7 as the transmitter pin. And that's why throughout this tutorial we've been working with these two and wiring these two ports like we did. So here we're creating two separate serial ports. One of them is of course the serial port, which is the virtual port that's going to be connected to the Omega2, and that's the one we're going to be using for communication between the two. This one is more for you, the user, just to see kind of what's going on. So using the tools, using the serial monitor tool, you can monitor this port right here and kind of see what kind of information you're getting. So if you look at the main loop, what it's doing is if there's anything available at the serial USB port. So in other words, if there's anything available here, if you send anything from here, the code takes that and writes it to the virtual serial port, which is connected to the Omega2. And likewise, if you send anything from the Omega2 to Arduino, which is going to be received at the software serial port that we programmed, what the code is going to do is it's just going to write that for you in the actual USB serial port, and then you're going to see it over here. So that's the logic behind the code. In a real program where you have sensors connected, you don't necessarily need this USB serial port, because you can write directly into the virtual port that we're creating over here, and that data is sent over to the Omega2 device. So right now we can go ahead and compile this and upload it to the Arduino board. So it's not gonna do anything right now. It is compiled successfully, but it's not gonna do anything. So I can write stuff here and send them. It's gonna be sent to that virtual port, but it's not yet programmed to be received by the Omega2. So here on the Omega2 side, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna SSH into it. So I'm using this Ubuntu terminal on a Windows computer to do it. You can also use PuTTY or any other SSH software. So right now I've successfully connected to the Omega2. What we're going to use is we're going to use the screen command to monitor the kind of like an equivalent of the monitor tool for Arduino, to kind of monitor that port that we connected the Arduino to. If you look at this tutorial that Onion has on communicating with serial devices, this is where they explain how the screen works. So if you're not sure how to install it or how it works, you can take a look here. But I'm gonna show you as well. So right now, if you look under change directory to dev, which is devices, and take a look at the stuff on there using the ls command, according to the documentation, this is what the TX1 and RX1 maps to, and we connected the Arduino to TX1 and RX1 and Omega2, so that's the port we're going to be referring to. So using the screen command, we're going to screen that port. We're going to give it the full path of where that is located, and we're going to give it a speed which is going to be the same speed as we operate at using with the Arduino. And that's how UART is. You have to operate at the same speed because it's a synchronous protocol. So I'm gonna hit enter. It's gonna open a blank window where I can monitor the communication. So if I go back to the serial monitor on the Arduino side, right now these two should be interacting. So if I type something, the way the screen works is that if you type something in this window over here, it will send it through that specified port, and I should be able to see them here because once it's received at the Arduino side, it's going to be relayed to this serial port. So let's give it a shot. I'm going to start typing. So this window is selected right now. I'm going to start typing something, and we're going to keep an eye on here and see if we can see the characters. So yep, as you can see, it's typing. So just to be clear, I'm typing on this side right now, and that's being sent over to the Arduino. Okay, so we know that this side of the deal works, so we're able to send stuff from Onion Omega2 to Arduino, and Arduino is able to receive them. For the other direction, we're going to use this little window over here to send commands, and we should be able to receive them here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this to both NL and CR, and what it does, it just goes to a new line and initializes the pointer each time I send a message. So we're gonna send something. So I'm gonna hit send, and there it is. So Omega2 is able to receive messages from the Arduino board. And hit send, and there it is. So the communication works. You're able to send and receive stuff back and forth. To give you a more practical example, I'm gonna detach this screen. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna select it, and I'm gonna hit hold control and then A, D, and that will detach that screen. And I'm going to change directories here to where I wrote the code. So this is a Python script. You can use Python. Python has a PySerial library that you can use to communicate with a serial port. And this is so far the easiest way that I've found to do this. And I'm going to show you a little sample code on here that I wrote. What this does is very simple. First of all, you have to import the serial library. Again, this is in Python. I'm actually using Python 3 to compile it. And this is the syntax for opening a serial port. This is where the device is located, and this is the speed. And right now I'm just setting the timeout to none, just for this purpose. and I have a forever loop here that just reads the stuff from the serial port and just prints them to a screen. So this is assuming that I'm receiving integers, and this is because in real projects you normally have integer values from the sensors and you want to send that over to Omega2 and do something useful with it. So let's go ahead and run this. Alright, so script is running. It should be listening right now for communication. I'm gonna change this over here to no line ending because those characters gonna mess up my code because my code is expecting an integer. And I'm gonna test it with some random values. So say I'm gonna send an 8, hit send, and you receive it over here. And just like that. So there it is. That's how you use UART to communicate with the Arduino using the Omega2. And I might have more tutorials in the future where I show you how to collect some actual sensor data and maybe send it over to the cloud and maybe use the AWS to do something with that data. But for now, this is all I have. Thank you guys for watching. Feel free to leave any comments or questions in the comment section, and I'll do my best to reply. Thank you.